Well, good afternoon and a very warm welcome back to the channel. It's March the 20th, 2020, and spring and the motorcycling season is approaching us here in the UK, and certainly this weekend looks like it's going to be set fair. We are, however, in the middle of the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic, and certainly whilst some of the Far Eastern countries are now seem to be recovering from it, which is great news, here in Europe and certainly in the UK and the United States, we are now starting to hit the upward curve of the epidemic. So I'm looking forward to a fantastic motorcycling season. So there's no better place to isolate yourself than on a motorcycle. You have a crash helmet on, you're out in the fresh air, you're out on your own, and providing you don't mix with anybody while you're stopped on your motorcycle, then you are technically self-isolating. But knowing my luck, by the time you look at this video, you'll find the UK has actually been locked down and we're not allowed to move anyway. We've got a number of social distancing measures in operation which we're all trying to work with, but certainly motorcycling should not be an issue, providing, as I say, we don't mix with too many people. We were preparing for the season in the week, and my mate Sean, who has the R1250GS exclusive, needed a rear tyre fitting to his machine, and he decided that he was going to take the wheel off, take it to the tyre shop, have the tyre shop fit the tyre to the wheel, and then put the wheel back on. That for me is a great example or a great opportunity for me to go and film removing the rear wheel and replacing the rear wheel, and hopefully you guys will then get a bit of confidence to be able to do that yourself on your own machines. It was on Sean's R1250GS exclusive, not my R1250GS TE, but to be honest with you, apart from his back wheels black and mine silver, they're identical machines, and the fitting of this is identical. This of course will pair up with my front wheel removal. I'll put a card up here on the right, which I filmed a little while ago for you guys and has been relatively popular. This one is not going to be anywhere near as long. Removal of the back wheel on the R1250GS is an absolute cinch. Replacing it is an absolute cinch. It's ideal if you've got a second person, but to be perfectly honest with you, it's a one-man job and it takes 10 minutes. So anyway, we'll shoot over to Sean's garage now. We'll show you the wheel removal, we'll show you the wheel replacement, and hopefully that'll give you some confidence to do it. Usual things apply. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, subscribe to it, because we shall have some more upcoming videos shortly, and it'll be great for you to be along. Always love the comments, so if you've got any comments, that'd be great if you place those. I try and answer them all. They are getting a little bit more comments now, and so sometimes it's very, very difficult, particularly if they're repetitive, but I do like the comments. It's great interaction. So hope you have a great motorcycling season if you're just moving into it now, certainly in the Northern Hemisphere. Hopefully this awful pandemic will soon see itself rid, and let's get on and fit the tyre. GS done about 7,500 miles, so it's ready and up for replacement. It's a Bridgestone Battlax Adventure A41 that was fitted to his bike, and he's actually going for exactly the same replacement. We're going to take the wheel out in a minute and it'll go away to be fitted, and from there we'll get it back from the guy that's fitting it, and then we'll fit the item back onto the bike again. So hopefully you'll see both sides of that. So we'll get on with that as soon as we possibly can. So we've got the bike now up on the centre stands. Sean's sorting out some tools for us. You can see that the profile of the tyre has flattened off quite considerably. And if you actually look at the wear bars that sit here between it near the centre of the tyre, we're getting very close to actually needing that. As I say, it's a Bridgestone Battlax Adventure A41, and we're going to replace it with exactly the same tyres. So we're up on the centre stand. We've got it in first gear so that actually the wheel is locking when it hits the gearbox, and we're going to settle ourselves down on this side here to remove the 5 bolts that are Torx bolts on here, and it should be very, very simple. Just remove those and remove the wheel, but we'll assemble that once we've got ourselves settled down on the side there. Okay, so here we are positioned by the right hand side as you're sat on the bike of the rear wheel, and you can see here we're going to remove these 5 fasteners in the hole here, and we're hoping then that the wheel will come away, leaving the hub, the disc, the caliper and everything else in place. So although we had to remove the calipers with the front tyre, and I'll put a card to that up in the top here so that you can see how the front wheel is changed, I think the rear wheel is going to be actually quite a little bit easier. So Sean's now going to take those off. It's a Torx 50, so and now you can see the wheel has moved itself up against the gearbox. So just very simply here, undoing the bolts. Okay, so that's all the bolts removed, and as you can see, they're tapered. Hopefully you can see that there. They're tapered bolts, and very much like very small car ones. But they're all removed now. So we've got all the 5 bolts out now. There is an arrow on here which tells you which way the wheel rotates, but I think probably it would only go on one way anyway. Certainly we'd only want it with the valve on the outside here. But I think what we've got to do now is just move it off this pivot here and then tip it. It might be a little bit tight to get it out between the exhaust and the caliper, I think. But we'll just let Sean drop that out and we'll see what we've got then. Okay, and there we go. So if we just very quickly move the camera in, you'll see that it's simply come off the 5 bolting positions here, off the hub, left the disc in place, left the caliper in place, left the rear official hugger on, and in fact it's left Sean's accessory hugger on there as well. So quite an easy removal, and we'll get the thing off to the fitter and then we'll be back again in a few days, but hopefully you won't need to wait a few days for us to get that back on. Sean's just going to stick the bolts back in just so they're steered into the right place. So we'll catch up with you when we're ready to refit. Okay, so it's 24 hours later and you're just a transition of when we took it out to when we're putting it back. But anyways, 24 hours later, we're back in Sean's man cave and the back wheel is back. We'll be showing you that in a second, and we'll be refitting it to the bike, as you can see below, with no wheel. Okay, so here we've got the replacement then. So it's a Bridgestone Battlax Adventure and 41, so that's the latest model. The earlier models had the 40 on them, so this is the one that actually came with the bike. Size wise, we're talking about somewhere on here a 170 by 60 R17. So we'll get and fit this on. It's been done by the bike shop, so all perfect and all to the correct pressure. So we'll wend it on the bike, tighten up the bolts and give you the torque settings. Okay, so tyre and wheels over here, disc caliper. We put these screws just in place to keep them up off the ground, but we're going to now put the wheel back on, and then we'll tighten these again, pretty standard to tighten these diametrically opposite. So this one followed by this one, followed by this one, followed by this one, followed by this one, and so on. And again, check your own torques because it's most important, but the torque figure for this bike from the BMW manual is 60 Newton meters. So we're not going to put any thread lock or anything on because this is going into an aluminium, steel going into an aluminium, and I'm pretty sure the 60 Newton meters across 5 bolts will be perfectly enough to hold the back wheel on. So we'll position it in a second and we'll get those done up diametrically opposite, as I say, to 60 Newton meters, and pretty much the job will be done. Okay, so with the wheel in place, we'll just lift that up now onto the hub, and this is where 2 pairs of hands come in handy. We're in gear, don't forget, so we should be able to rotate it. There we go, until they're lined up, and just get at least one of these into a hand tight. It should then hold it on the hub, like so. So we'll just let Sean put the remainder of those 5 in hand tight. Okay, so we've now got them all together hand tight, and torque's 50, and Sean's now going to do them up to 60 Newton meters, which is a fair amount, and diametrically opposite. So the next one will be this one, followed by this one, and then lastly this one. And then normally what I would do, particularly on a wheel, is maybe just go past them again just to check we have not moved anything and they are all just sneaked up. This one, mate. And there we go, all done. Wheel in, we'll take it out of gear now so that we don't take it off the stand and the first thing that happens is the wheel jars. But that is the fitting of a rear tyre, or at least removal of the rear wheel and refitting of the rear wheel. We never fitted the tyre to an R1250GS. Hope you enjoyed it. Okay, so as I suspected when I was doing the intro earlier on, we are now actually in the UK here in lockdown. On Monday, the government restricts us to 1 exercise outdoors per day, infrequent shopping for only food or medical supplies, and various other activities that they feel are essential to the running of the country. So effectively now, for the time being, our motorcycle season has ended before it really started. So it's not that important, you know, for those of you that enjoy riding your motorcycles as I do for a hobby, then there's far more important things than that. And I wish you and your family health and well-being while we fight this virus that is currently a pandemic around the world. Remember, viruses don't spread, people spread viruses. So stay away from people, stay away from anybody in your family. In fact, just stay away from everybody. Imagine everybody's got a 2-meter ranged death ray gun and they're going to kill you. And that should keep you safe from the virus and all the usual personal hygiene things. In any case, Sean and I did manage to get ourselves a very quick ride a couple of days after we fitted the tyre and a couple of days before the government shut down the country. And we rode 275 miles up to the North Devon coast and the Exmoor National Park. Here's a very quick 5 minutes of what was a great ride. We stayed away from everybody, we weren't in contact with anybody, but there was very light traffic and very few people about, which was a superb way to be out and about on a motorcycle. Hope you enjoy it. Hope to see you soon. Hope we all get on our motorcycles here in the Northern Hemisphere sooner rather than later. But most importantly, to you, to yours, stay safe, stay healthy in mind and body. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.